Let me take you to the Baltic Sea. Have a look at this territory. It is Kaliningrad. It is the westernmost territory of Russia. As it is evident from the map, it is not geographically connected to Russia, but has been a Russian territory since the end of the World War II. Earlier, it belonged to the Prussian Germans, but was ceded to the USSR in 1945. It houses the Russian Baltic Fleet. We can see that it is sandwiched between two countries, Lithuania and Poland. Kaliningrad is a semi-exclave of Russia. What is an exclave? Look at Alaska. It is a US state. But is it geographically connected to the United States? No. It touches Canada instead. If a portion of a country is surrounded by land belonging to one or more foreign territories and is geographically separated from the main part, it is called an exclave. But why is Kaliningrad a semi-exclave? Because it is not completely surrounded by a foreign land territory. Its one side borders the sea. Okay, but why are we studying Kaliningrad? See, the import and export of goods take place between Russia and Kaliningrad. Enforcing EU sanctions, Lithuania has blocked the transit of goods through their territory to the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. In a way, this is NATO's plan to isolate the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. It has raised tensions in the region. This move has the potential to escalate and prolong the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Meanwhile, in the Russian legislature, the Duma, efforts are on to revoke Russia's recognition of Lithuania's independence in 1991. The then Soviet President, Mr. Mikhail Gorbachev, adopted a resolution recognizing the independence of the Republic of Lithuania. Lithuania was the first of the 15 Soviet republics to declare independence from the Soviet Union. The 14 other Soviet republics later followed suit. These events led to the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. The Russian Federation was recognized as the legal successor of the Soviet Union. Why is Kaliningrad so important to Russia? Because of its strategic location. Kaliningrad port remains ice-free year-round. It gives Russia access to the Baltic Sea and further. Russia can say hello to many European capitals. Russia is extremely sensitive about Kaliningrad. Perceiving the threat of losing it, Russia might consider creating land connectivity to Kaliningrad. And here is when the Suwalki corridor comes into picture. I want you to focus here. This thin corridor separating Kaliningrad from Belarus is called the Suwalki corridor or the Suwalki gap. Belarus is aligned with Russia. Both fronts can consider seizing the Suwalki corridor. In fact, earlier in the Zapad military exercise, Russia and Belarus had practiced closing the Suwalki corridor. If Russia manages to seize the Suwalki gap, it can cut the only road and rail access from Poland to the Baltic states. A majority of the area of the Suwalki corridor comprises the rural regions with very limited infrastructure and gentle hills, making it an ideal terrain for tanks. It is a strategic choke point which can be used by Russia to cut off Central Europe's access to the Baltics, thereby compromising the defense of the Baltic states. Look at these three countries on the eastern coast of the Baltic Sea: Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. These are called the Baltic nations. They were a part of the erstwhile Soviet Union. After the end of the Cold War, they became a part of NATO. NATO, or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, came into being in 1949 to counter the Soviet influence in Europe. Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty ensures collective security. This means an attack on one member country will be seen as an attack against all members, and the members will take collective action against the aggressor, exercising their right of mutual self-defense. Geographically exposed Baltic states are considered NATO's biggest military vulnerability. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has angered Europe, and there has been a clear shift of opinions against Russia. Fearing the threat of Russian attack and feeling the need for NATO security, Finland and Sweden have decided to shun their neutral stance and they want to join NATO. Article 10 governs the process of joining the alliance. Being Russia's neighbors, their joining the treaty has a strategic advantage for NATO. The US is confident of them joining the alliance. However, Turkey is not in support of Sweden and Finland joining NATO because Turkey believes that these countries support groups that are considered terrorist outfits by Turkey. Suwalki Corridor includes NATO territory, and seizing it comes with a risk of a full-blown war between NATO and Russia. According to some experts, if that happens, it might even trigger World War III. NATO's military infrastructure in the Baltic region can be a threat to the Russian Baltic Fleet. It is of strategic importance for Russia to prevent NATO expansion in Eastern Europe. Because of this, Russia has even deployed nuclear weapons in Kaliningrad. Any provocative moves will open new zones of confrontation, leading to a precarious security environment. Isolating and cornering Russia might not be a good policy at the moment. What do you think?